One of my proudest moments was the lyric from that was written in the men's room stall. And that's when I knew I had arrived. It doesn't get any bigger. My star does not get any bigger than like being quoted on the men's room stall. And then I found out, I recall it was you that had written it.
You guys weren't afraid to be funny at a time in 1994 when music was all about doom and gloom.
There's just something, right place, right time, and something about Kirby's and Moorhead and Fargo generally that it just was a fit and it felt right. We could pay our bills, but not a stitch more. And I tell you what, there's not much of a pension in rock and roll.
Right.
We recorded another winner.
Yep.
And then I wrote my half of the next album and somebody else didn't. I think we were all at the time a little disappointed that Andy stepped away when he did, because things were starting to galvanize for us. There's no deep wisdom in most of our songs. I do wish he would have come up with 6 more songs and we could have made one more records. Billions, Anthony. There were billions of people in the bar.
And platinum albums and cocaine and all sorts of stuff. No.
Well, we got to sing those songs hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So if you got to sing it with us one time, Anthony,
yeah,
that's awesome. That's all it was. It was just about having fun.
The hair metal guru from Warren to Crew. The hair metal guru. Never forget Charlie too.
We probably all have that band that you think of as your band. That band that you discovered before they made the big time. The band that you were sure was going to make the big time. And for me, that band was called the Billies. They were from Minneapolis, Minnesota. So today it is an honor to have their lead guitarist and singer and songwriter, Scott Ehrenberg, on the show. Scott, thank you so much for taking the time to come on.
Anthony, the privilege is mine. I'm really grateful for the invite, and it's nice to see your face again. When's the last time we spoke? I think I know, but I want you to confirm because my memory is...
Yeah, I hear you. I think it was at the 2015 Gear Daddies show.
That's what I thought. I think I got a picture of us somewhere at First Ave, and I said, that's the last time I saw that guy.
Yep.
So get me caught up on the last 10 years.
Well, so the first time we would have met would have been 94.
Okay. Yeah.
At Kirby's in Moorhead. I went to college. I dropped out of college. I went to Iraq in 2003.
Yeah.
Was in the military for 22 years. Got home from Iraq and got sober and went back to college. Became a teacher for 12 years. Taught until 2023. And then I started I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna do a YouTube channel, and I still, do other stuff, but the channel is just kind of, taken off for it's much bigger than I ever thought it was gonna go. So
I've checked in on you from time to time, and it's pretty impressive what you're doing. So congrats.
I appreciate it, and and it's gonna sound weird. Like, I don't get nervous talking to rock stars anymore. But
so you shouldn't be nervous in this conversation.
I'm not really, but we'll get into it. But I've said it before. I'll say it again. There was never a band that was as important to me. That I felt like I was seeing you guys on the ground floor, and we got to know you. You guys hung out. You would come sit at the tables and BS, and it was like, wow. Like, not only did I love your music, you were so nice, and so that just made me root for you extra hard. And here you come on here and you ask how I'm doing, and
so what went wrong? Where did I go wrong?
I want to get into. That's what I want to get into.
Okay, well, if we can figure it out, I'm getting the band back together.
Okay, hey, you know what? That's not a bad idea. Yeah. So, okay, I see you first in 1994, but when did the music bug bite? When did what were you listening to when you were younger, and when did you start thinking, I need to pick up a guitar and start doing this?
So this is a very timely question. In 6th grade, I formed my first band, and we were called the Black Marauders.
Okay.
And I actually, so it was all my grade school buddies in the neighborhood. We didn't have a drummer, and we would record to cassette tapes and boom boxes and stuff. And one guy played bass, and I played the guitar, and the other guy was a singer. And then we didn't have a drummer, so we would play drums on his weight set, his bench bar.
Yep.
And it was all Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and I mean, that felt pretty cool for being a 12-year-old kid.
Sure.
And I will say, this is not directly related, but all those guys moved away and they became doctors and, really important people. I stayed in rock and roll, in any event. So some of those guys would come back. They came back in the early 2000s, maybe 05 to 08, somewhere like that. And
sure,
we got together and I said, guys, we're all back in town. We should get the band back together. And so we did exactly that. Now, this is not Billy's related, so I apologize.
No.
But we, if you give me your address, the Black Marauders recorded all of their songs from their youth, all the AC/DC, and I'll send you a copy, and it's a reasonable facsimile of the music that we cut our teeth on. And it was just real joy to get all those guys, in a room, and we'd play some shows, and we were in like a cystic fibrosis benefit with the Billies because we were all plugged into the same good group of people. So,
sure.
You need to have a Black Marauder CD to round out your collection, and I've got more than enough in my garage. I can spare a copy, so I'd be happy as
I would love one. Were you in Minneapolis, or were you on the outskirts, or where did you grow up?
So it was kind of a northeastern suburb of Minneapolis. I'll say, and then I got into high school, and I got moody. I was one of those moody teens, and we got into the REMs and the Cures, because I graduated in 1987 from high school. So that's what was going on. And it was that, or what else was happening back then, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was Cyndi Lauper, Bryan Adams, nothing. That's all good, but I liked stuff that was a little out there. And then we had a band called, this is actually my whole rock and roll career went downhill summer of 86.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be a junior in high school. I think I just turned 16, and we had a band called Batteries Not Included.
Okay.
Very sinister sounding band. And 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 again, you're a kid, you don't know what your limitations are. You think you're indestructible and can do anything. And we've got this demo tape that we recorded on a 4-track, and I drive down to First Avenue in downtown Minneapolis. I'm like, we're going to play here. And so they booked us on new band nights. Like, it was like every Tuesday or every first Tuesday. I don't know what the rules were, but I am so it was just before school started. This is like August of 85, 86. I don't remember, but I just know I had just turned 16, and we're playing at 7th Street Entry, and I'm like, this is the best thing ever. It was when it was, I still got excited, right? Like, this is in any event, we get there, and I'll never forget, because in the main room that night, on some random Tuesday in August of 85 or 86, Oingo Boingo is playing in the main room, right?
No way. Okay.
Right. And so, like, I got, because we played, I got free crossover. So I'm 16, and Billy Batson, I don't want to get anyone in trouble, but Billy Batson is a local legend, Mighty Mofos, and he did sound at the, I can't believe I'm remembering all this, but it was so important to me back in the day. And, and he comes up to me and he says, are you 21? I'm like, yeah. I don't know that I have hair under my arms at this point. It's like I was a late bloomer.
Yep.
And he says, you're 21. I'm like, well, yeah. And he's like, okay, here's your drink tickets.
Okay.
And he goes down, the line, and the next guy follows my lead, and he gets his 2 drink tickets, and the next guy gets his, and then the last guy's like, oh man, yeah, I don't turn 21 for a couple of months, which is all bullcrap because we were 16.
Right.
And so in any event, so no drink tickets for him. We play our 20-minute set. We're not very good.
Yeah.
But I have a tape of it from the board, and that was great. And then the best part is everybody went home except for me and my best buddy. And we sat in the main room and watched Oingo Boingo. And I've got these two drink tickets. I don't know what I'm doing. And I go up to the bar and like, I look at the bar and I don't even like drink or anything.
Yeah.
I really don't. And at this point in my life, and I just look up and they have all these beers, and the biggest can of beer up there was Foster's Lager.
Yeah.
The big oil cans?
Oh, yeah.
Never seen them before in my life. This is a brand new world, and people are walking around with colored hair and pierced whatnots. And I'm like this just sheltered 16-year-old suburban teen, and I got a drink ticket in my hand. I'm like, will this drink ticket get me one of those big cans? And like, yes, it will. I'm like, I'll take one of those. And I had 2 Foster's Lagers, and we just had the most fun ever, just soaking it all in. And like I said, I think it's been all downhill since then. I mean, in terms of my rock career, because that was, it just doesn't get any better than that.
What kind of music was that band playing?
So, I mean, not very good music. It was, it was in the vein of like I say, the REM and the Cures and the things like that. And that was kind of, and then, in high school, we had the rivalry with the, the hair metal band, which at the time was Vixen, Vixxon. So there was this big, the jocks versus the nerds kind of thing. And we were, we had that kind of in-school rivalry. And later that year, the school has a talent show. And I'll cut to the chase, but let's just say Vixen came in second place.
Oh, hey. All right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Batteries Not Included won the day.
Okay.
And and I keep in touch with all these guys. So whenever I see them, I remind them of, the 1986 talent show and who came in second. And it wasn't this guy.
Right. Obviously. Were you writing the songs and singing in those bands?
Oh yeah. And they were not very good songs, but it really was.
If there's anything the Billies were known for, at least as far as I thought, was and I see it now, your self-deprecating sense of humor. You guys were always
only the truth, Anthony.
Anyway, so you talked about like some of these bands that were like, what is your memory of the Minneapolis music scene? And I'll just throw out the Gear Daddy. You guys constantly got compared to the Gear Daddies. Like, do you remember discovering them? And like, what was your memory of the Minneapolis scene in those early years?
Yeah, well, so, fast forward, I went to college and somehow managed to get through it.
St. Cloud, right?
St. Cloud is yeah, exactly. And, about that time, it was, and later in high school too, REM is a, kind of a launching off point with the Replacements and the Soul Asylums and to some extent Husker Du and then a little after that was bands like the Gear Daddies, which was just kind of on heavy rotation in the house that I was living in, the college house. Yeah. I remember like it was Billy's Live Bait was playing all the time, and Trip Shakespeare was another one that the house loved, and we'd go see him at the red carpet. In fact, I think I'm going up to the red carpet on Saturday. It's I think Johnny Clueless and Flip are playing at like the 45th anniversary, and I haven't been to the red carpet, and I don't even know how long, or I haven't gone back to St. Cloud. So I think I'm going to go up there Saturday, and it's a relatively early show.
Yeah.
So it won't be too past my bedtime,
Right.
but I will be, bringing earplugs and prune juice and all the accoutrements of an old man.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of looking forward. I'm definitely looking forward to that. And Steve Brown, I haven't seen him for a couple of years, so I'm hoping to.
I haven't thought of it. Not that I loved Johnny Clueless.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, I mean, you guys were all. I'm trying to think of what were the other bands that were coming up. The Honey Dogs.
Oh, for sure.
Although anyway, so you were writing songs in these. So I was just like, and I know you're probably going to say something self-deprecating, but
I'll try not to.
do you remember the first time you wrote something and you thought, you know what, like I might be okay at this, like I can,
Oh, that's an interesting question. I enjoy being creative, whether it's trying to write music or, just anything really. And just the act of trying to be creative, I think, is reward
okay,
in and of itself. So I wasn't thinking like, is Anthony going to like this one?
Right.
Or,
I was hoping that's what you were thinking, but anyway.
I was hoping you'd like it. Don't get me wrong, but I was really just like, well, I'm going to strum on a guitar, and if the muse moves me and some words come out and it sort of kind of rhymes, then, we'll flesh it out. And really it was just, and you've seen us play live. Yeah. We hardly even would play. There's a lot of, I think some of my best songs, I don't know if I ever played them live. It just wasn't about that. It was just having fun. And so we would play Billy Joel. We'd play the Billies. We'd play Roger Miller. It just didn't matter. It was just about having fun.
It was like you guys, it seemed like you would be there for like 4 hours. I mean, obviously you had to play a ton of covers at Kirby's anyway. It seemed like,
yeah.
You played like 3-4 sets.
Yep.
A night anyway.
Yeah. No, up at Kirby's, we had the easy drinking set, we called it. And that was, Kirby. The only reason Kirby, I don't know who we opened for. I don't remember. It might have been Tina and the B-sides, or it might have been the Gear Daddies. I don't remember. We opened for somebody up there. Yeah. And we played Roger Miller songs.
Yeah.
And old man Kirby loved Roger Miller. And he's like, I like you guys. And, he was a gruff, salty old dog, and we all loved him. And he had us back, and he would say, you have to play all your Roger Miller tunes. So we would do this easy drinking set because, the crowd wouldn't necessarily be there right at 9 o'clock, and Kirby would be there because it wasn't yet time for him to go to bed. And he'd sit and listen to the Roger Millers and the John Denvers and all that stuff. And then he enjoyed it, and he kept having us back. And for a while there, it doesn't get any better than Kirby's. Was it Thursday nights? That was the night there.
Yep.
God, we looked forward to that. That was so fun. I will never forget, that floor was just undulating. I'm like, we're going to die. We're all going to go crashing into the basement. It was unbelievable.
Maybe you don't there was a Billy's night where part of the ceiling caved in on a table out in the bar.
Oh, I did not know that.
And no, they didn't stop the show. It was just like, all right, don't sit at that table. This just fell on the table. Stay away from that table. And we're like, all right, the show went on. So,
and did you ever spend any time with Gary, the sound man? You remember Gary Folkstead?
I remember him. I don't think I sat and chatted with him. I remember him.
Yeah, we'd spend a lot of time at after close, and he was a good guy, and he always was just he was always really helpful to us too. So it was a good vibe. Kirby's it doesn't get any better than that.
And I'm going to get into that a little bit more, but So you graduate high school in 87, you go to college at St. Cloud, graduate in 91?
Technically in May of 92.
What did you go to school for?
Uh,
If I can.
yeah, so I not a real worldly guy growing up, so it's like I was first generation off the farm,
Yeah.
and my dad just said you're going to be the first Ehrenberg to graduate from college, and I think it was more for his benefit than mine. And
Yeah.
at some point, it's like, well, I will go to college for what? And
Yeah.
I didn't know much about much, and it's the only thing I knew was teaching. Like I saw teachers for the first 18 years of my life, whatnot. It's like, well, I'll be a teacher. It's a teaching college.
Yeah.
And so I got a bunch of English classes and a bunch of, child psych courses. And then I just realized, like, there's no way in heck I'm mature enough to go into a classroom and do this work. I did some, coursework, like internships, and reached, so I was working with some kids and tutoring on the weekends.
Yeah.
And in sweet side story, one of the guys I worked with, and again, this is, like 1991, one of the guys lives in Florida, right? And I literally we weren't even on semesters back then. It was quarters. I spent a quarter, tutoring this nice kid who, was going through a rough patch in his own life. And he reached out to me, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. He's like, oh, I bet you don't remember me. And I did, and he's living in Florida. And he's like, our time was super important to him. And I, as a 20-year-old kid, it was completely lost on me. He needed help with his math, and I can add, subtract, and divide. So it was, and I needed the grade. So, like, this is cool. And I was, he even then I was giving him demo tapes of my band. He's like, I still have them. And just, it was really sweet. So, we're friends on the Facebook, and it just, you being a teacher, the tail by the, the TAIL, the tail of your work, I don't think you can even begin to quantify or appreciate. Yeah. It's really impactful. Yeah. And, like I say, in just that small 3-month period of time where I was with this one kid, it meant a lot to him. And I had no idea. Had he delivered that message to me in real time, maybe I would have said, oh, okay, I can be a teacher. I can work with kids. And, but, I'll, go back to being that age. Like all of us lacked a little bit self-confidence and all that stuff. So it was, even in that small moment in time, it's like, I got kind of that,
absolutely
a nice story out of it. I can only imagine that multiplied by 1,000 or more in your own personal lives.
I mean, and leaving teaching was hard. I bet it was going in a different direction than I was used to anyway.
Sure.
And you mentioned your dad, like, were your parents pretty supportive of you doing music? And
they were pretty hands off. I was mostly, I think, raised by wolves growing up. They were doing their own thing. It was, I wouldn't say it was the highest functioning family, but we made it work. And, they were pretty cool. I'm still scarred to this day. My mom played, in fact, this is a true story. Maybe people don't care, but like my mom played organ, and she would play organ at the local bars in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Okay. And then my dad would show up at these places, and he was smitten by this person playing the organ. So he apparently would show up week after week after week after week after week. And then he finally worked up the courage, and then they arranged a date. And that's kind of, music was kind of at the crux of, he loved music, but was awful at it.
Yeah.
And she loved music and was really talented, albeit at organ. So my childhood, I took organ lessons from my mom about the uncoolest thing a guy could do. in
Right.
grade school.
Right.
But she would, so in my defense, if I practiced, she'd give me packs of baseball cards because I collected baseball cards. So I was only in it for the baseball cards and that awful gum that came in the
Yeah.
packs. So that's how I started. I played organ, and then my dad had an old guitar that he bought, and he just couldn't play, so it was laying around. And I started strumming on that, and then then it was on to Black Marauder and all that other stuff. And we haven't even got to the Billies, and I've already
Well, and I was just going to ask. So you said you graduated college around 92. I thought, and I mean, there's so much I don't know about your guys' history because it's not like it was all readily available. But
Yeah.
if I understand right, you guys first got together in 1991.
So true story. The buddy that I was friends with, that was the bass player in the Black Marauders from 6th grade, he was in a fraternity at Hamline University.
Yep.
And he was pre-med. He's a doctor now. And Eric was in the same fraternity. And there was the original drummer, Eric Trelstead, was in that fraternity as well. So through my buddy Sam, I met these other guys, and they were playing like frat parties and stuff. And then my buddy Sam said, well, you should really talk to Scott. And so that's my introduction. It turns out, Andy, our bass player, I went to high school with.
Okay.
And, so I already knew him. And then it was
Okay.
just kind of by way of introduction to the other two Erics. And, Eric Roberts was the lead guy in our group. So I always was happy to be 1B to his 1A, or however it goes.
Okay.
It worked out from a personality standpoint because it really wasn't that important to anybody. But so I fit right in kind of in the background. And then over time, it's like, well, if you write 6 songs and I write 6 songs, we each only have to write half a record and we get a full record out of the deal. And maybe we can keep this gig going for another year or two. Because we really didn't work very hard at all at it. We we didn't experience a whole lot of success other than a lot of fun and some memories and whatnot. But we got so much more out of it than we deserved because people work really, really hard at their craft.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because they work really hard and they get frustrated. It's like, well, we didn't work at all. So anything we got was just gravy. It was just, how long can we keep gas in the van and just keep driving around? And that's what we did. I'm amazed, frankly, that we did it as long as we did.
What,
so
when you met Eric, and for people who don't know, like you kind of said, you and Eric basically each wrote half the album. You were both the singers in the band.
Yep.
And like when you first met him, like how did was it like, all right, like what was your plan? Like how did the Billies come together out of you two meeting?
I know Eric. At first, when he first met me, he's like, "Yeah, I wasn't sure that I really liked you," because again, I have that effect on a lot of people, so it's not the first time I've heard it. But I was just a moody 20-something kid trying to figure things out. And I was a little behind the curve, I suppose, in some regards. So, but, I'd listen to his songs and I liked them, and he would listen to the songs I was writing. He's like, yeah, whatever. And it was just, nobody really took ourselves too seriously. So like formulas or it just didn't matter. It was just, let's just do it. Yeah. So we did it. And so our first practice, I remember this, it was Eric Trelstead was our original drummer, and he had a place on Green Avenue in Anoka, Minnesota. And they invited me down Halloween 1991. And I don't know if you remember Halloween 1991, but that was the blizzard.
That's right.
So honest to God, and I don't think at this point I had yet to meet him. So I was there with him and his wife, and I think they had a dog of some sort. and we get together and we're just playing, and it kept snowing and it kept snowing. And I came from St. Cloud because I was still in school.
Whose wife? Who had a wife?
Eric Trelstead, our original drummer.
Okay,
He was
Eric.
married. He had a house. He
Okay.
was already kind of,
Yep.
doing all those things, and so that's where we practiced.
Yep.
But by the time we wrapped up practice, it's like we're not going anywhere. So I'm staying at this guy's house, and I'm an early riser. Everybody's asleep, and I don't really know Trelstead all that well. So I'm like, well, I'm up because I'm an early riser. I mean, I'll shovel his driveway just as kind of a gesture of goodwill. I mean, I got to sleep on a couch in his house instead of dying in a ditch on the way home to St. Cloud. So,
Right.
and of course, I'm out there trying to shovel 31 inches of snow, and I crap on that. I shoveled his driveway and a little bit more, and then no, this isn't happening because it was too much snow.
Did you wake up and go, obviously you're in the band if you're going to shovel my anyway?
Well, at that time, it was a bit of an audition. So I wanted to create the illusion I was a nice guy. So I thought that would be a good way to do it.
Right.
And so in any event, that was literally the first time the four of us got together. It was the Halloween blizzard. And then I know, I don't remember my first gig. It was probably off and on because I couldn't make it down from St. Cloud all the time because, during the school year, but I played a couple of shows off and on with them. And I think they were playing they had some band names. At one point, they were the House Clowns. And at one point they were the Acorns. And I just wasn't wild about any of those names. And I don't know why the Billies is any better or worse, but that's the name that stuck. And we're adding a fourth person. And so that's what we did. But then I think, I graduated college May of 92. And again, my dad says, well, you graduated, kid, what are you going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to buy a van and start a rock band. And that's exactly what we did. And we did it full time for, my God, 6-7 years anyways. Yeah. And then, we started transitioning ourselves. People started getting married and having families and getting more serious jobs because we could pay our bills, but not a stitch more. And I tell you what, there's not much of a pension in rock and roll.
Right. Right.
So
how did Rob, who would become the drummer on the first album, how did Rob come into the picture?
So, well, that's a good question. I think so. You're talking about the very first record,
I'm talking Roses and Flowers and Plants.
Yeah. So now
I'm sorry to interrupt. Was there any recordings done before?
Yeah, there were some cassettes. We did some demos pre that. And a lot of those songs got re-recorded for that first CD. But our original drummer played on that. So that was Eric Trelstead. Yep, that guy. So
But Rob's on the picture.
So he played on some, and Eric, that whole record was such a fiasco. We started it in a guy's basement on like an 16-track reel-to-reel, and then Steve Brown introduced us to the guys he was working, Johnny Clueless introduced us to the guys he was working with at Orphan, and we had this sort of half-hatched, half-baked thing, and then they wanted to, work with us, which was great, and so then, the tape was failing. I mean, the whole thing, it was like duct tape and purple crayons. I mean, it was just stitched together, and at some point, I remember the engineer just saying, "Well, the magnetic tape is literally crumbling. We can't record anymore. Otherwise, I just have to mix it now, or we're going to lose all of it."
Right.
It was not, it was not Eagles Hotel California. We did not have a budget. It was just.
So what, like, and you've kind of answered this. You guys weren't you and Eric or whoever weren't sitting together going, okay, man, we're going to do this and then we're going to get the major label record deal and we're going to be rock stars. Like that wasn't the goal.
Not really.
Okay.
Not really. We didn't spend hardly any time thinking about it. It was just, you know, there were a couple of bars we could play at and get a decent crowd. Well, let's see if we can get a couple more, and let's drive to Sioux Falls and see what happens. Let's drive to Fargo. Well, as long as we're in Fargo, let's drive up to Grand Forks and see what happens. And some places stuck better than others. I don't know why. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. I think there's so much randomness to most of this stuff. It's just right place, right time in certain towns and certain bars, and other places, it doesn't quite connect for whatever reason. There's no rhyme or reason to it, really. Again, so that's all it was. It was just about having fun. Literally just 4 guys in a van, like, where are we going this weekend? And let's get there. And then come what may.
Where did this cover, where did the idea for that cover come about?
Well, I think that was, so the guy on the cover, his name is Matt Shenvert, and he's been a lifelong friend of all of us. Okay. It was all just about picking guys in our friend group and trying to put them in semi-ridiculous, semi-embarrassing kinds of circumstances. Yep. And so he was on that, he was the victim on that first cover. The second album, there's a guy in a red jumpsuit. That was a buddy of mine named Gary. That one, in true story, you can't tell from that, but if you're familiar with like Minneapolis, so, yep. Like the old Pillsbury Mill, yeah, that limestone building, Gary and I and a couple other guys, we worked as industrial fumigators, which probably explains some things. Exposure to methyl bromide will do funny things to the brain. Right. But so we would fumigate Pillsbury A Mill twice a year. So we knew the building inside and out. And like for this second record, I had this idea, like, we're going to sneak into Pillsbury A Mill, just harmless. I mean, we're not going to hurt anybody or hurt anything, but we're going to sneak into the A Mill and we're going to get up to the roof and we're going to take a picture of Gary in front of this Watermelon radio with Queen Live Killers 8-track in the Watermelon radio. You can't tell it's Queen Live Killers, but all of this was just borderline nonsense to just entertain myself. But that picture was taken inside this big flour mill that we snuck onto the roof because we knew how to get there. And then the idea was, it says Pillsbury Best Flour, the big sign. And the idea was we'd get that in the frame of the picture, and then I would edit it to say whatever the album was going to be, because we didn't even know. Okay. Well, we're not professional photographers, so right. None of it worked. It just didn't work. So we just clipped him out of the pictures and did some other things. But that was my way of memorializing another buddy in our group and just say, well, if nothing else, you're the goofball on our second CD.
Me and my friends, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, let me kiss your ass or whatever, but we loved this thing.
It's so funny. Yeah.
It's
a pretty juvenile record, though. I mean, it's kind of Roger Miller. It's kind of just, there's no deep wisdom in most of our songs. No record a better example of that than that record. It was just, it rhymes. It's kind of funny, and aw shucks.
And okay, so you mentioned the kind of funny. It was in such a different. Okay, so I grew up loving hair metal. And probably in 1991, when I was graduating from high school, I borrowed my sister's car to go to a party, and I have a bunch of beers. I'm like, I got to go home, but I better sit in my car and wait for a while so I can think I'm sobering up. And in that car is the Gear Daddies, Billy's Live Bait.
Yeah.
I'm like, where has this music been all my life? I never heard anything like that.
Yeah.
So then when I discovered this. And so my point being is you guys weren't afraid to be funny at a time in 1994 when music was all about doom and gloom, you
No,
know.
that's super interesting. Yeah, no, that's super interesting because that's very true. Um, there was a lot of heavy music going on, and we just and I will say, you mentioned the Gear Daddies, big influence to what we were doing, and nobody helped us more than those guys. They would take us out on the road just because, we were just harmless little guys that they
Mhm.
liked having around, and
Yeah.
we had a lot of good time with those guys. I'm forever grateful to Martin and that whole crew, really, truly.
Yeah.
And but when you think about our record versus like Gear Daddy's songs, like go back and listen to like Gear Daddy's records, and like that's actual songwriting. I mean, there's characters and there's some depth to it, and it's funny and it's clever. Some of that's missing in what we were doing, if I'm being honest.
I I hear you, but
I'm not being self-deprecating.
oh,
I'm
I
just
know.
like, it's
I get it. But like, I mean, so I I think we missed, we felt like me and I'm talking about like my friends. There was, everything was so doom and gloom. And even we loved the Gear Daddies, but you weren't listening to the Gear Daddies and going, "All right, this is fun." I mean, that was all serious shit.
yeah,
And
yeah.
the you guys brought the humor, and I think that's why we all gravitated to, and we all loved this thing. And yeah, a lot of it, there's a lot of humor on it. There was some serious stuff. I thought Holiday was kind of serious, you know.
It was more of an attempt at serious songwriting
Sure.
for sure.
And when we get to All American Lounge, I mean, one of my favorite songs of all time is Take the Harley, and that was kind of, I felt like a serious attempt, Anyway. Um,
Well, refresh my memory, because one of my proudest moments, and I felt like we talked about this 20 plus years ago back in the Kirby days. One of my proudest moments was the lyric from that was written in the men's room stall. And that's when I knew I had arrived. It doesn't get any bigger. My star does not get any bigger than like being quoted on the men's room stall. And then I found out, as I recall, it was you that had written it.
I'm
And I will be forever grateful that you took the time to write my lyrics in a men's room in, Moorhead, Minnesota. That
I'm
was the greatest. To this day, I wish I could have that stall door and have it in my, but
I'm
sadly it's lost to history.
I'm shocked. I mean, I'm shocked, and it blows me away that you remember that,
Oh
because
my God, it's one of the coolest things that I'd show up because we'd play there
yeah.
like every 2 months. And every time I come up, I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. I just love this door. And, well, again, like, it's like we were playing at the Grammys or doing anything. It's like, come up, we get to play for a packed house and drink free beer and feel appreciated. It was really wonderful. So to me, I hope it's okay I brought that up, because I
Please.
remember us talking, because at some point I always wondered who it was, and I thought I was talking to you, and you're like, dude, that was me. And I'm like, oh, Anthony, you're
Yeah.
the best.
I loved, I mean, I loved that song. And I'm not just saying this, like there was a time I was like, I'm gonna tattoo that. Do you feel like a dinosaur? And it just felt like, like you're at the age where you're like, man, I'm getting to be too old to be partying and doing all this crazy stuff. But you're also too, you felt too young to be moving on to your life. So, you're like, man,
You
and
didn't
like,
know what was supposed to come next.
yes, yes.
That's exactly right. And that's what I was kind of trying to capture in a way. Like, I don't know what to do.
And so that, and well, that comes off. So the song is called Take the Harley. It's off All American Lounge. And that is one of the songs that has just hit me the hardest in my musical world. So I just want you to know that.
I
Uh,
appreciate you sharing that. It was probably one of my more favorite songs that I that I wrote. So we share that. It was kind of like, hey, there's something here that hits a little closer to the bone. And again, it's subjective. I couldn't even tell you exactly what it was, but it was. And that was one of the songs that I would play every night.
Yeah.
There are songs on that record and others that I like I said, I never played in 20 some years, in part because we never had another lead guitar player to take. And I was not talented enough to play all of the lead guitar and remember all the words and, not trip over myself. So it was too much work. So why bother? We could just,
and I mean, back in and I didn't know what constituted a good guitar player. We just knew what sounded good and what didn't. And I was just convinced that you were like, man, that guy's like one of the most amazing guitar players ever. That's what I thought. So anyway.
Well, it's probably not entirely true, but I appreciate that. I did the best I could with what I had to work with.
Yeah.
So
I was going to say this. I remember the first time I saw you in Kirby's, I think it was 94, the year that the first album came out. I could be wrong. Maybe it was a different year. A bunch of us used to go to a place called the Trader and Trapper. It was across the street in Moorhead. And Thursday nights they had $5 all you could drink. So we would go there. And then one night we're like, let's go to Kirby's and see what band is there. And it was you guys.
Oh, it's completely random.
And there was like nobody there. 10, 15 people. So I'm assuming it's one of your first shows there. That was pretty regular for us to go to the Trader and Trapper, and then when the $5 all you could drink ended, go to Kirby's.
And was that right across the street from Kirby's?
Like maybe 2 blocks.
Because what was the bar right across the street?
Ralph's.
Ralph's. We'd always go to Ralph's before the show for a bump, and then we'd head back over to Kirby. So I remember Ralph's.
Yes,
I think we ended up playing at Trader and Trappers as well, if I'm not mistaken.
I think they had some occasional shows.
Yeah.
But so we go, it was regular for us to go to Kirby's. And anyway, there's 10 people there. No offense. And
so it was well attended relative to other gigs we were playing.
But I remember leaning over to my buddy that I was with, and I was going, what the hell is this? This is really good. So what do you remember about building your name? You start off playing there, Kirby's, and by the end, you got that place. It felt like you couldn't fit people into the shows over the next couple of years.
Wasn't that amazing? That was so much fun. Couldn't believe it. Yeah, it was unreal. And that goes back to my previous point. It didn't connect like that in Sioux Falls. Okay. It didn't connect like that in Mankato or Des Moines or Dubuque, Iowa. It just, there was something, there's just something, right place, right time, and something about Kirby's and Moorhead and Fargo generally that it just was a fit and it felt right. And we struggled to come anywhere near that in, other than Minneapolis, anywhere else.
Really?
For sure.
I'd always wondered that. I'm like, was it that way everywhere?
I wish that it were, but there were a lot of, Tuesday nights in Salt Lake City with 4 people in the bar and the bar owner apologizing.
Right.
Because Robert Plant was playing at the Met Center down the street. I'm like, dude, I don't think it's that. I think nobody's heard of us. Salt Lake is a long way from Minneapolis. And those were, there were a lot of those shows too. So, but even then it's like, you can still have fun on a Tuesday night in Salt Lake City.
Sure.
And we'd figure out some way to entertain ourselves. And that was, I really, that charm with those 3 other guys was really a blessed couple of years, just dinging around.
I used to buy every, I have the Billy's The Taste Is Gonna Move You shirt, and I have this. I would steal stuff off
Oh wow! Look at that.
with the autographs.
Yeah.
And so I'll tell you, here's what you said. Anthony, 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 Anthony. Thanks, man. Because I always remember like going, do you remember my name? And he's like, shit. He goes, I remember. He goes, I knew you were going to ask me. So I was always
You're talking about me at this point?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
So anyway, I mean, it was just kind of funny because
Well, it worked. I remember it.
right. So anyway, I got that. This is from the All American Lounge.
Oh yeah, that was the nicest poster we ever had.
Yeah. So, and that's when I realized, and I was going to ask you because Andy left the band, and I think
did. He was a working man, and there was a period of time in his life when he put his career ahead of his rock and roll ambitions. And so the guy in that picture was Jeremy from Teen and the B-Sides. So he went and played with us for a while. And then it started us off on like a whole kind of bass odyssey because, Jeremy couldn't commit full time because he had, great fit. We had a lot of fun, but he had greener pastures. And so after Tina picked back up, then we went through, I don't know, several bass players. I can't even begin to count how many. And then Andy realized that he had space in his life for a full-time job. And that was kind of when we all agreed we'd not go out for weeks at a time.
Yeah.
We'd just become weekend warriors. And so it was the right time. This would have been, 96, 97. That I think that All American Lounge was 95, as I recall. So it was about 18 months, maybe 2 years where Andy wasn't available to us. And then we were all starting to get jobs and start planning, a bit of an exit strategy. So he came back, and then we slowed down and would just do, weekends and occasional, longer runs, and we'd take some vacation and
sure,
just for something to do.
What were you doing? And I don't care if you answered, but what were you doing on the side during the Billy's years?
Well, a lot of top secret government work. I'm still doing top secret government work. Prior to that, I was actually working for a Russian periodicals company in Plymouth, Minnesota, selling sensitive military documents from Russia, and Russia had just broken up. So they're it's not sensitive stuff, but it was like Military Zhizhin, which is like Military Today, all these Russian periodicals around the world. And I would coordinate with the distribution team in Moscow to make sure like Slavic librarians in Australia got their Russian newspapers. It was fun as heck. And I'll say this, the people that I worked with at this company were the most brilliant people I've ever worked with. They all spoke, 10 languages, and they were brilliant, brilliant people. And I was not. It is a cool feeling to be kind of not the smartest guy in the room, because you can learn a whole lot. And
I can relate.
It was a good couple of years learning for some really smart people. But selling Russian periodicals wasn't a long-term solution for me. So,
what was the band dynamics in the years? Roses and Flowers and Plants, All American Lounge. Like, did you guys get along really well, or was it like, we're in a band together? But
no, yeah, most of the time it was not even about the music. Like I said, it was just four guys road tripping.
Okay.
And then, the music was kind of like, oh crap, we gotta do this other thing so we can get back to just having fun. And it was all harmless stuff. We really had a lot of fun, and everybody was, I don't know, just everybody was just fun to be around. So
I remember seeing there was like a billboard in
Oh,
Minneapolis for
yeah.
this album.
Yeah. Down in Uptown there was, for sure.
I mean, that's kind of shocking. So,
It was pretty fun, yeah.
did you guys, so like, we used to get loaded like crazy at Billy's shows.
Yeah.
Did you guys like, you're in the van all that you're playing these shows? Did you ever feel like the partying was, or was the party always under control with you guys?
I mean, no, I will say, I'm an old man. So you look back at your life and I, you've mentioned, your sobriety, and I'm very, very much the same at this point in my life. And I'm really glad for it. And I'm really glad for some of those lost years, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Yep.
But I certainly, so and we were always, sensible in our recklessness. So it was never, it was never all that crazy, but it was nonstop. And I certainly, in retrospect, and I don't want to sound preachy, but I certainly, in retrospect, probably wished I would have moderated my relationship to alcohol a little sooner than I did, if I'm being honest. And again, a lot of times, like, we got meals and beers at a lot of these places. So the more I drank, the more I got paid, Anthony.
Yeah.
And the better I played guitar, I might add.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Or so I thought. So that was part of it, and that some of that's a function of being a young guy, and some of it's a function of being in a rock band. And it's just, that's where we all were at that point in time. And some of us outgrow it, and unfortunately others don't. And, I'm glad to have outgrown it.
Yeah. You got Zeller, Martin Zeller from the Gear Daddies, to do some background vocals on this.
Yeah. So he sang on that. And, it's kind of funny. We were really glad that he agreed to do it. But, what was pretty obvious after he laid down his tracks is how much his voice sounds like Eric. So, if you go listen to the songs that he sings on, it's like, well, is that Eric or is that Martin singing? Right. And it's like, because usually if you have a backup vocal, you want it to be, somehow a contrast that creates some interesting something or other. But it was like, well, that's just Eric singing with Eric, who happens to be Martin. And it was great, but it gets kind of lost when both voices are so similar in so many ways. It was kind of funny at the time.
If it wasn't written on the CD, I hate to say it, I wouldn't have known that Zeller was on.
Right?
On those tracks.
Yeah, for sure.
But
he was a peach for doing it, by the way.
Yeah.
It was really sweet of him because, but we spent so much time together. Like, well, you should come sing on a record. And he's like, I'd love that. I'm like, well, then that's great. Let's do it. But
and when it comes to like bands that I loved back in that day and was always, I never saw the Gear Daddies when they were together.
Oh, okay.
They came to MSUM my freshman year of college, and I remember my friends going, hey, there's this band. They're like country rock. And I'm like, well, I'm a metalhead, so I'm probably not going to like this. So I didn't go, and then they broke up shortly after. And then I discovered that the Gear Daddies were one of my favorite bands of all time, and I've seen a million Gear Daddies shows since then. Anyway, I'm getting off track.
That's okay.
So to see, and I didn't see you guys play with, trying to think. Maybe you guys opened some Zeller shows that I saw in the early days. Yeah,
I know in various forms. I know there was a couple of times we went up. You remember like Westward Ho up in Grand Forks?
Yep.
I know Eric and I specifically went up and just did acoustic opening for Martin up there.
Yep.
I want to say it was a couple of weekends. And at the time for us, that was a big deal. Like, we were pretty excited. Like, so I know we did that, and then we would play on different shows like with the full band, the Hardways and stuff.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and then, like 2015, which was when we played with them at First Ave, like,
Yep.
holy crap, was that a blast.
Yeah.
I just looked out. There's just a sea of people, and everybody was just in the right space mentally. It was
Right.
just a good vibe, and that was such a great night.
Yeah. And well, I feel like I know the answer to this question, but like I said, or around All American Lounge, I was gonna ask, like, are you guys frustrated that you're not, getting more? But that never seemed to be your goal. Was like, hey, maybe we'll make the big time.
Yeah, no.
Oh,
My favorite, we got a review. We were going to go do some shows like in Kansas City, in support of our big new record, right? And we're playing at the Hurricane or something that weekend, and we got people sending the CDs out and lining up reviews or interviews and stuff, and I would just share this with you because it is kind of funny. So you drive all day. It's like 9 hours in a van to get to Kansas City. And then you get there and you pick up the local city pages, whatever it's called, because we knew that somebody was going to write something about our record and promote the show. And so we're reading it. And, the review wasn't amazing. And they somehow compared us to, Grand Funk Railroad American Band, but they did it in a way that was like, kind of backhanded. And I'm like, I love that song. That's awesome. If somebody thinks, if I remind somebody of Grand Funk Railroad American Band, like, sign me up. That's amazing.
Right. Do you know, like, about how many CDs you would have sold at the first?
Oh,
I'd be interested to know that.
yeah, that's a great question. We never really kept track of it. Sure. I mean, it was always 2,000 to 4,000, something like that. It was pretty small. And, and then you'd sell shirts and CDs out of the back of the van and sleep on somebody's floor and make it to the next gig. And it was just fun. So, never more than, the last record was maybe close to 4,000. Okay. That's really a small amount, if we're being honest. So but like I say, it just didn't matter.
and I'm glad you say, I mean, because obviously I want you to tell us how it was, like, but I'm just telling you, like, for me and a lot of people, like, we were just always like, maybe the next one will be the one that will break you guys. I mean, I legitimately used to always be like, oh, please let somebody in the right place find this band, because I was just so convinced that you deserved. Anyway.
Well, and be careful what you wish for, right? I mean, true. I kind of, with the benefit of hindsight, like, I feel like we got out just in time. We got all the fun and all of the stories, and then we got to get jobs and grow up a little bit too. So not that you can't do both, don't get me wrong, but the lifestyle is it can be tricky for some people. Sure. So I feel like we did it just right. And not through any intention of our own. It's just like, it's time to grow up a little bit more and try some different things. And then, for many, many years, our last show was February of 2020. Okay. We did a cystic fibrosis benefit right as COVID was rolling out. Yep. And I'll be honest, I haven't picked up my guitar since.
Really?
Just something about COVID and the pandemic. What was left of my interest in music, it just evaporated. And I'm open if it wants to come back, but it just hasn't.
Okay.
So I will say, and not that this is, any big announcement, but I just got a text from the guys yesterday, and they want to get together because somebody's wife is out of town and they got nothing to do. So it's like, we'll bring your stuff over. So actually, for the first time since February 2020, we might get together this weekend. And I told them I am not going to practice. I'm only doing this under the guise of I want to see how good or bad I am. 5.5 years of not practicing at all, not playing these songs to see if I can even remember them. So it's really more of an exercise in how bad we've gotten, or whether it's like riding a bike and, you just kind of always know how to do it. So
Sure.
we have yet to actually lock down a date, a date and a time, but sometime Thursday through Sunday is the window I told them I was available. And I'm just waiting for somebody to get back to me with them. So who knows,
I mean,
maybe we'll write some really great songs this weekend and, you'll get your wish. I don't know. I hope not. The last thing I want to do is get back in the van and drive around at this point. But I'll be curious to see how well or not well we can play these songs, because it's literally been 5 years.
I mean, could you foresee? Obviously not like you did back in the past, but like, hey, a few shows a year, and maybe it's not worth it to do that. I don't know, but like, hey, we're gonna play, Minneapolis. We're gonna open for the Gear Daddies a couple times. I'm sure that option is probably available to you guys. Maybe we could swing up to Fargo once. I don't know. Anyway, I mean, but
it's come up. We've, we're fortunate enough to have the relationships that we've had, Gear Daddies or otherwise. So we've had some invitations over the years.
Yeah.
And if I'm being honest, I just haven't felt like doing it. And I've told those guys, like, I'm replaceable. Go get, if you guys want to do it, get a guitar player and do it. I take no ownership of the music or the name. It's not a big deal. And I said, if and when I feel like doing it, I'll try to beg back in. I don't, my point is I don't want to, if this is somebody else's joy, I want you to go indulge yourself in that joy. I'm just not there. I don't know why. I'm not. It's not from a place of frustration or depression. I'm just elsewhere. I can't explain it. And if it feels like a chore, our time on this planet is not getting any longer, Anthony. Sure. So I'm going to do stuff that I feel motivated to do. And right now that's riding a bike and fishing in a kayak, and it's just not playing guitar for some reason. So
I'm gonna get to the 20, because I want to talk about that 2015 reunion with the Gear Daddies, but I do want to talk about this.
Okay.
So comes out in 97, and it's not on Orphan.
Right.
The first two records were on Orphan Records, and then this one on Shoot. It's written.
It was a made-up label name that we just put it out on our own.
Oh, okay. Red Shirt Records is what it was called.
Yeah, it was to create the illusion that it was something important, but it was our own production. It was self-funded, and we just did it. We just went a different direction.
So there was nothing like, Orphans, not.
No, those guys, they wanted to work with us, and we wanted to work with them. And I think, if anything, if I'm being honest, I think the songs from start to finish on that one was a turning point for us. I mean, we worked a little harder. We're like, okay, let's see if we can maybe do something, a little bit more professional, for lack of a better word. And in Orphan, those guys were, there was mutual interest, but we wanted a little more, I think, guaranteed kind of just support and distribution. And they were in a different place. And so it was probably the first and only time in our life where we actually tried to make a business decision.
Okay.
Because honestly, prior to that, it was just, just we're making it up as we go. And like I said, we crunched the numbers and we figured we'd sell 3,000-4,000 records more if it went good, and we could recoup the recording costs and own the music. And we felt that the songs represented something better than what we had done previously. And I think there was just some growth. We'd been doing it for a number of years. So we thought we'd try it that way. And I was really pleased by that record, if I'm being honest. I don't know. It was a bit of a departure from the previous two CDs, and maybe it didn't have to be quite as heavy or grungy. I think a lot of those songs would have worked had we kept it kind of light and silly, but for whatever reason, we stepped on some distortion pedals. And and I will say too, you go back to that time and you mentioned like, your buddy saying there's this country rock band in the Gear Daddies, and you're like, well, I'm not into country rock. But there was that whole, and they think they called it Americana, and there was this whole basket of bands that were melding the country rock and doing some different things. And then about that time, I recall like the Sunvolt record, right? And they, I'm just saying, you place it within that time frame, and then everybody was kind of just saying, well, we did kind of the country rock banjo goofy thing, and people it seemed like a lot of people were just stepping on distortion pedals as a bit of a departure, and we just happened to be doing the same thing. And so that's the way it went. I know and again, one thing, going back to the guys, because they just want to play for the sake of playing. Yeah. And I told them, I'm like, well, I would like to do something creative.
Okay.
Right. And so I'd even said, like, well, even take all of your favorite songs from these 3 records and let's re-record them and see what we can do as old men. And, just not for marketing. Yeah. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Just for our own interest. Like, what would happen if we took some of these songs from 30 years ago and took what we thought were our favorite songs across all those records and just re-recorded them now in whatever way we recorded them, just as an experiment
with Pro Tools and all the modern.
Isn't that something what you can do now?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can make a record right in your basement.
Well, and not to get too far sidetracked, but you can go to like these AI music generators. Yeah. Have you done that?
No, I haven't. But people, my theme song is AI. Some fan of the show was like, "Hey, I had AI." I'm like, "What?" It
right?
Like
complete with like the Iron Maiden guitar solos that I could never play in real life in a billion years if I even tried. Right. Oh my God. It's ridiculous. I mean, and I'm, I still have the brain of a 13-year-old. So it's like, I just write songs to bug my kid and get under his skin. So, but yeah, you don't even need to record anymore. You just, it's I don't know what the future of music holds. And that's a whole different conversation.
Yeah. Patrick Tanner is listed as a band member.
Patrick Tanner, let me just start by saying Patrick Tanner is such an amazing person. Yeah. You know much about Patrick?
I have a Patrick Tanner or maybe 2 solo CDs.
Yeah.
He played Kirby's. Yeah. And he seemed to show up like as maybe a produce on everybody's album. So I didn't know him like I felt like I knew you guys, but I definitely knew of him.
No, he's so talented. I really am fortunate to know him. I haven't seen him. I talked to him a couple of years ago. I've really just, like I say, my life's gone in a different direction, but he's one of those guys I'm just forever grateful for. He's been so helpful and supportive to me as just a friend and just a talented musician. And it goes back to the early days. I'd go over to his house and we'd barbecue and he'd have a little 8-track and we'd noodle around on stuff. And he's He's a special cat.
And he played a role in your solo album, which we're going to get to in just a minute.
Oh no, you know about that?
Oh yeah,
Oh my goodness.
of course. Jeez.
Okay.
That came
No
out.
one's supposed to know about that.
I know about it.
Okay. I'm semi kidding, but
Right.
yeah. So
Of course.
we can get to that whenever you're ready. But
Of course. When Another Winner, which was actually a song title on the first album, Roses and Flowers and Plants,
right.
comes out in 97. The band had been together for about 6 years and 3 albums.
That's about right.
Like, how had things changed a bunch over the years? And maybe I'll just kind of like, because that's your last record. Like, what was the difference between this band and this band?
If we were starting to figure it out on more than just the song's catchy and the words kind of rhyme and
Right.
it's funny, harmless. I really, like I said, I really think the songwriting started to improve. And do you know that there's kind of like this fourth Billy CD? Here Comes the Rock and Roll, I think it's called. So this is like, so to your point, we recorded Another Winner.
Yep.
And then I wrote my half of the next album, and somebody else didn't.
Right.
He Who Shall Not Be Named. And so we were kind of, and again, like adult life intervened. I get it. But so I did my homework, and I will say, so most of those songs then are put on this sort of slap together thing. We had the studio. The guys at Orphan gave us the studio because it wasn't booked for a day, and we brought our friends in. It was Patrick and Terry Walsh. I don't even know who else. And we'd have people come in, and they would play like 2 or 3 songs with the group, and we just recorded it all live, one take.
Yeah.
And I think for what it was, it turned out really well, and I think it's a fun listen. It's not reinventing rock and roll, but all of the cover songs, the easy drinking sets, it was a bit of a, that retrospective. And then there was this half of an album that I had recorded. Then what was missing was Eric's half, and I'm still waiting for Eric's half of the album, by the way. And so that, I'm not that the world is going to it's not going to make a difference, but like some of those songs I thought were pretty fun.
So some of the originals that you have, Stay With Me, Downtime, Car.
Yeah. Those songs I thought really weren't quite as grungy as the previous record, right. and maybe a little back to being playful, but had I actually tried to write lyrics that had tried to communicate something beyond just nonsense.
Yeah.
And so I was, well, let's just say like Eric had moved on and I had yet to move on at that point. So I do wish he would have come up with 6 more songs and we could have made one more record. Because I felt like, as I said, from like musicianship standpoint, we were starting to become a little more proficient at what we were doing.
Yep.
The songwriting, I could tell, was getting more better. And I think we were finding what I thought was, maybe our voice. I don't want to sound artsy, but like we were starting to hit a groove that I was like, oh, this is good. I really enjoyed the songs I was writing, and I just wanted there to be, that complimentary half, so we'd have one more record, and before we rode off in the sunset, so to speak.
Absolutely. Could you have foreseen a future? I mean, and we talked about like, hey, not every place was like Kirby's or Fargo or Moorhead, but could you have foreseen like being a big enough regional band that you could have made a decent living, or was that not in the cards for the Billies?
You know, it didn't seem to be.
Okay.
If I'm being honest, you know, I mean, we paid the bills, like I said. We made enough money to get by,
Yeah.
and you get a part-time job here and there and whatnot. But you know, I mean, we did it full time for those 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it was, and it got as big as it got. And barring, you know, some kind of, I don't know, maybe if we put makeup on our faces and, you know, if I spit blood, I don't know, because that's never been done. And
right.
Yeah,
Try something original.
yeah. If we would have come up with an angle, but yeah, you know, and if I'm being honest, I mean, just like I said at the beginning of this, in all sincerity, we got so much more out of rock and roll than we really deserved and worked for. It really, I feel blessed. I really do. It was just the right amount, and I don't think we overstayed our welcome. And we quietly slid out the side stage door, and you know, here we are.
There are 2 songs that Eric wrote on Another Winter.
Okay.
Half-Hearted Try and 3 Below. And I remember, and I can't remember maybe it was you. It wasn't Eric, but I remember you guys playing probably Kirby's and saying it felt like both of those songs lyrically were the lyrics of a guy who was like, I think I'm coming to the end of this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like Half-Hearted Try, 3 Below, it was like it felt like I'm tired of, you know, the grind.
It started to become a little more of a chore in a way. I do know the backstory for those. Like, so, you know, we talk about the bass player odyssey after Andy stepped aside, you know, for, like I say, it might have been 18 months. I don't remember.
Yep.
He had a good job. He got a master's degree, and he wanted to explore something more professional. Yep. Awesome. And so like 3 Below was really about trying to find a bass player.
Okay.
I mean, again, it's so not a rock song. It's not about chicks or beers. It's like we literally we would rehearse bass player after bass player after bass player, and it just never worked. And so much with us was like you just kind of had to fit in with the guys.
Right.
You didn't have to be a great bass player. You know, it's like we don't need Jaco Pastorius here. We just need a guy that can hang with us and hit the right notes 80% of the time. And so, like I say, it was a lot of work, because we would have to rehearse with a new guy like every 3 or 4 months. And we didn't like practicing. And and now we're in a basement practicing so we can have this viable band. So 3 Below was literally about the bass player odyssey.
Yep.
And not to disclose too much, but I think we were all at the time a little disappointed that Andy stepped away when he did, because things were starting to galvanize for us, you know, just in terms of the songs and the music and some of the crowds. There was a little more gravity to the situation. And Eric had written Half-Hearted Try really kind of about his frustration, you know, for Andy stepping away. There was never any like bad blood, let's be clear. Sure. But that was his frustration. So literally those 2 songs are about bass players or the bass player broadly, like I said. So it's I think it's interesting. You know, because they're also the double entendres in there, I suppose, about what else. So somebody else that didn't know that maybe would hear something totally different.
Right. I mean, I used sound like an idiot, sit and analyze the lyrics and try to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
You know, with the band and things, because you're
Right,
like,
because there's got to be some deeper meaning here.
got to be some deeper meaning.
Usually there wasn't with us, if I'm being honest. But if you found a deeper meaning, I would love to know about it. Let's just put it that way.
Right. So I'll say this. So that's your last album. It came out in '97. I felt like you were ahead of your time, and here's why. In seriously, in '98, like Semisonic starts happening. You start getting more bands that were like singing happier rocks. Not that all your guys were happy songs, but you know, like catchy pop rock.
And I would take it a step farther, you know, like Semisonic and you know, Dan Wilson, supremely talented guy, right?
Yeah.
And so God bless him. He has a gift that, you know, not everybody has. And I don't know him. Yeah. You know, I think we played some shows with Trip Shakespeare, like way back in the day. Yeah. They wouldn't know who I am. Yeah. But to your point, like when you think about Semisonic, like Dan's a pretty normal looking dude. Yeah. And by and large, that's kind of how I viewed us, you know, like there wasn't really like an angle or a shtick. It's just like, I don't know. It's four guys that just show up in the clothes that they were wearing when they drove up in the van and just trying to have fun.
But that seemed like you guys. And you know, we were like, when those bands again were starting to happen, you're like, oh, well, you guys have been doing that for a long time before. I mean, so had Dan Wilson, but you know, they were starting to hit and get national attention. And
Anthony, what I'm thinking is you need to get Dan on your show and interview him. And then when you do, you let him know that he can send some royalty checks my way, that we paved the career path that he got to enjoy.
Right. Yeah. And if anybody watching doesn't know Dan Wilson of Semisonic, he wrote songs for Adele.
Dixie Chicks, you name it.
Yeah. So yeah, that guy's living good. Dan Wilson, if you ever want to come on, let me know.
Yeah.
And I'll just throw shoot. If Eric wanted to do this, I'd love to get his side.
I'll let him know. Well, I'm guessing there'll be a link or something, right?
Yep.
So I'll send those guys the link, and they'll be very pleased to, you know, to see your face. And if I see him this weekend, I'll mention what we were up to, and I'll tell Eric the same thing. He can tell his side of the story.
Totally.
Maybe he's got a totally different take on things. He's still, you know, he's still in the music business. So he's a booking agent. So like in all sincerity, I mean, his insights in music are much keener than mine. Right. Just because he lives it every day. So be a different conversation than a guy doing top secret government work, I guess is my point.
You guys are not big social media users, though. I mean, like Eric doesn't really have any kind of social media profile that I.
No, I don't think so.
Which is fine.
I mean, I don't think Andy does either, and I'm not sure Rob does. And I have a Facebook page, and if you want to see pictures of fish that I caught this summer, that's where you can do it.
There is a Billy's Facebook page, and I will for sure put that link.
Oh, sure.
You know, it's got pictures and stuff from the old. You guys did a TV show around another winter. So. Yeah,
and you know, that is a regret. Like we did all of the stuff that we did, you know, pre-cell phones.
Oh yeah.
You know, so we took like 8 pictures in 10 years. They're all on the website. Like we just weren't thinking about taking pictures and chronicling this journey, even for our own selfish purposes.
Totally.
It was such a miss because we were all over the country. Yeah. And oh my God, some of the things I would have taken pictures of would have just been, I mean, personally, it would have been fantastic, but we just weren't thinking that far ahead. So I wish we had more pictures.
I think and I should, because I have a bunch of stuff. I have so much rock and roll stuff downstairs. I think I have a picture of you and I in those years.
Oh,
Uh,
scan
and
it and send it to me when you get a chance.
yes, and if I find it, I will then it will be in this video right here.
Oh, brilliant.
But to your point, nowadays everybody's like, quit holding your phone up at concerts, and which I kind of get. But one of my regrets, just like yours, is, man, the amount of pictures I wish I had taken in those years. What I wouldn't give to have video of you guys playing at Kirby's. Oh my, anyway.
Yeah, but you would have lost a lot of hours on Candy Crush and Words with Friends. So I mean, there's a trade-off. There's a trade-off to be had here. The cell phone, by and large, is probably more evil than beneficial.
Sure.
But I do wish we would have taken more pictures. Yep. And I will say too, when you're trying to find, the wild hare in El Paso, Texas, and it's 2 a.m, I sure wish I would have had Google Maps.
Yeah.
Because I mean, true story. I'll make it quick. I don't know how we're doing, but one of the most amazing, like, 48 hours in terms of just like you just can't make it up. We played a show in Flagstaff, Arizona. Jeremy Plum was with us. Back to it was that era, and we stayed at the historic Monte Vista Hotel. It's like this historic, 100-year-old hotel, and all the Hollywood stars would stay at this hotel in Flagstaff, and we got to stay, and they split us up into 2 single rooms, right? So Rob, our drummer, and we got to stay in the Debbie Reynolds room, which is like a single queen size bed. And the whole room is like pink. All the comforter and the walls, everything's pink. And it was done up just the way Debbie Reynolds required it. So whenever she was in town, she got the Debbie Reynolds room. Well, now it's, me and the drummer in the Debbie Reynolds room. And something went wrong with like the thermostat. And so like the heater went on. Yeah. And literally the room got like 100 degrees, and the smoke alarm goes off, and like a worker from the hotel room comes rushing in to tell us everything's okay. And it was so hot that like the 2 of us are just like sweating in our underwear in this giant queen size bed. And the worker just rushes in unannounced, and he stops, and he's like, he gets a little like, oh geez, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. And I'm sorry if this story is off the mark, but Rob turns to me, he's like, well, that was weird. What was that about? And I said, Rob, think about it. 2 guys in the Debbie Reynolds room. And then, so we had a good laugh. Well, in any event, we got to be to El Paso, Texas at the Wild Hare Saloon. And we had no idea how long a drive Flagstaff to El Paso was. And we're pulling into El Paso. I mean, it was 20 hours in a van. It was miserable, awful. And it's 2, 3 in the morning. We don't know where we're going. There's no cell phones. You do the stop at a gas station, stop at a payphone, and look in the phone book. Well, Dippy, Eric, and Jeremy, they look up the Wild Hare Saloon, and they get the address. And then we go to the gas station, and we get directions. And we get out, we get there, and 2 long hair guys get out of a rusty van, and it's like this glass 70s like commercial strip mall. And these 2 guys at 3 in the morning are peering in, and they come back to the van, and they're like, it looks like a haircutting joint. And no sooner do they say that, I kid you not, 6 squad cars from all directions, guns drawn, just chaos ensues. And we have no idea what's going on. And they get us, and we're face down in the pavement. And unbeknownst to us, they had been running a sting operation because there was some organized criminal element that was robbing different businesses, and they had just robbed a grocery store. And we didn't end up in front of the Wild Hair Saloon. We ended up in front of the Wild Hair Salon, and
Ah,
it legitimately was a haircutting place. And the rookie cop was monitoring that commercial node, and he sees two long-haired guys at 3 a.m. and he calls it in. We got them. It
obviously.
was, it's,
I
you can't make it up. Like, that is literally how we rolled. We were looking for the Wild Hair Saloon, and we got to the Wild Hair Salon. We were not the brightest band in the business.
I appreciate, and I appreciate your time, and I got a couple things left if we can.
Oh yeah. I'll go as long as you get what you want.
This is awesome. So you mentioned that after another winter, you start writing your songs. When is it apparent that Eric isn't, and what is that conversation like? Like, hey man, are we done? Or like, I'll stop there.
Yeah, just, it was no big deal, I kept encouraging him,
Yep.
and he just said, yeah, I don't feel like doing it. But he still wanted to play, so we'd
Okay.
play and stuff. He just didn't want to write songs and try to
Wow.
be creative.
Okay.
And as I said, like, even now, that would be more my interest, is to do
Yeah.
something creative, and so we're just in different places that way. No wrong answer. So yeah, that was that. And then I had that, whatever, half a record, and then we got the free studio for a day, and it was just kind of a fun way to get some of our musician buddies together, because we were
Yep.
we were kind of thinking we were winding down, and we wanted to memorialize some of those cover songs that we would play most nights, and we got most of them, and we just slapped it all together and called it a day.
Everybody loved your originals, but people like went crazy for your covers because you did covers that I don't think, or maybe other band, but you were doing like John Denver. You did a bunch of Simon and Garfunkel. You did this medley that I loved that had the Beatles' Rain.
Oh, right. What was in that? Like Rain and
Was there Gordon Lightfoot in there?
I think it was Sundown and Rain.
Sundown.
And then what was the other song? The
One more.
Bright Sunshiny Day, whatever. I don't even remember anymore.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. And again, it was just random. Like, oh, whatever. What happens if we just go to this now? And
I discovered that I loved John Denver because of Billy's shows. I was like, I'd heard it when I was a kid, but I became infatuated with John Denver in like 1994.
yeah. Yeah, there's something to it. And I will say, like, it's not like we're reinventing rock and roll, but we would play all of those songs as if they were Billy's songs.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
Totally.
it wasn't like, we're playing Queen the way the Billies would play Queen. It's
Right.
not like, I don't care about being true to the record. It's not that I don't care. I probably don't have the technical chops to pull most of it off, if I'm being honest. But like, this is how we sound. So how do we sound seen through other people's music? It was just a bit of a exploration for us. And but to your point, it was always, in fact, I mean, a lot of those songs I preferred playing to our original songs, just because I enjoyed them.
Yeah. Yep.
And not always, but
Sure.
you know what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't wait till we get to some of the John Denver songs.
Yeah.
And then if we want to punish our drummer, if we think he's been drinking too much beer in the evening, we'll play Cecilia because he has to play the drum solo.
Yeah.
And we'll see if he falls off his stool. That'll be
Right.
fun.
Right.
And then every time, no matter how drunk he was, he just would blow us away with something that he was a really good drummer.
Yeah. And there were a few times, and I don't think I ever asked, but like occasionally you would have fans sing songs.
Oh, yeah.
That, I don't know, maybe they came up and talked to you during a break and were like, hey, and so, but I was never known for my great singing voice. I did a lot of karaoke back in the day,
Sure.
but one time you guys were playing Take Me Home Country Roads and I'm standing on the side of the stage and my friend's like, go up there. You can sing that song. I used to, so there I went and you guys just let me
Right
walk up
on.
and go to the microphone and there I
More,
sang it. And that
more
was
the
like one of the
merrier.
biggest thrills that I had.
Good, good. That's what it should have been, right? I
Yeah.
mean, it's that was really, yeah, for us. I think again, it just that made it more. It was fun to share that with
Yeah.
people,
Yeah.
and we got to sing those songs hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So if you got to sing it with us one time, Anthony,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Okay, so Eric doesn't write songs for the fourth album, wants to keep playing. Like, are you like, okay, I guess we're done doing albums, but we're gonna play shows? What is the thought going forward from that point?
there wasn't a lot of thought. It was just, yeah, we'll just play shows. It's
Okay.
still fun. And
Okay.
we drive around and we'd go as far as, I mean, we got a little more selective because
Yeah.
we're giving up a weekend,
Right.
raising little kids and whatnot. So
Right.
it had to pencil out in ways that maybe it didn't have to pencil out in terms of, financial stuff. So, I mean, we had to cover our expenses and
Yeah.
put a little something in the checking account. So the shows were fewer in number in that regard. But yeah, whatever, come what may. It was fine. Um, it was still fun.
I don't expect you to go into your personal, but like you got married around 99. Is that right? Or
In fact, Anthony, not to brag, I got married exactly in 1999. Last week was our 26th wedding anniversary. My wife is a brilliant lady who has dubious taste in men, but I've told her that. And so for our 26th wedding anniversary, we went for a 26-mile bike ride down in Cannon. You ever been on the Cannon Valley Trail?
no,
It runs from Cannon Falls to Red Wing.
right?
We went about halfway. There's a town
Okay.
of Welch where it's about halfway, and then we
Yeah.
had lunch. So that was just Friday we did that. So
Okay.
yeah, been married. Those guys have all been married we all got married about the same time. I think,
Okay.
as I recall, Andy was first, and then maybe it was Eric. I don't remember. I must have got married before Rob, but I think it was all within the span of like 2 or maybe 3 years.
Sure.
So we all kind of grew up approximately at about the same time, and we had less time for it. And
Yeah.
but yeah, that's exactly right.
Was there a point where you said, okay, let's put it to bed. It's done, the Billies.
No, like I say, it was something with COVID for me.
But
We
even
played-
in the late 90s, early 2000s, were you still playing?
Oh, well, it depends on, like, we were just content. It was like we were like a little clubhouse gang. It was just, we were all content to just do whatever made sense.
Yeah.
Just to, as a hobby.
Yeah.
And then something around 2020, I just wasn't interested. I don't even know why. And I don't even pretend like it's a great loss or anything, for me or for the music world at large. It just,
Yeah.
I don't want to take the time to even put new strings on my guitar. It just didn't, so like, yeah, I don't know what happened. February 2020, I just like, yeah, I don't want to do this anymore.
But weren't there periods, and maybe I'm wrong, but weren't there periods in the 2000s where you guys didn't play for long stretches?
I don't remember. I mean, we would always play 6 times a year.
Okay.
So not regular, but I mean, we always were doing stuff. we were, yeah, I mean, we would always have some rotating
Okay.
kinds of things with venues and events, and we'd keep it going that way. And it was really, like I said, it was just some people, go golfing, and some
Yeah.
people play in a rock band 6 times a year. So it was just something,
Okay.
a fun distraction that was weighted appropriately to fit in with our life at that time.
But you obviously kept writing, and we talked about this. This came out in 2001.
Correct.
But you have a solo album that comes out in 2015.
Correct.
Undecided. So all those years, well, I guess I'll ask it this way. Had you hoped that maybe there would come a time where the fourth Billy's album would have come?
So all of those songs were not Billy's songs.
Okay.
So, as I said, that I had written I've done my homework for the fourth record, and it never happened.
Yep.
And so all of those songs, and again, I go back to Patrick Tanner. He's supremely talented guy, and when he wasn't busy, I would just hang out with him and say, well, here's some songs, and we just went in a whatever direction we went in, and we were trying to do something that didn't have anything to do with the past, and for no other reason than, as I said, I just enjoy trying to be creative. So it was not really recorded for other ears.
Yeah.
But it's available. I mean, it's out there. I think you can find it.
Yep.
I don't know, YouTube or Spotify or whatever.
It's on Apple Music.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that explains the $3.83 in royalties I'm getting every year.
Right.
Okay.
Good.
But yeah, it's out there. I mean, obviously, it's like if people are curious and they want to hear it, I'm not. I think they're interesting songs, but they're nothing like a Billy's song. So it was just trying to do something different.
Yeah.
Sonically, textures and different instruments, and it was just, and again, I got to hang out with Patrick, and it was just a really good time. I enjoyed working with them.
Obviously, this, it has all the covers, so this is probably not going to be on, or I know it's not on Apple Music, but the first 2 CDs, Roses and Flowers and Plants and All American Lounge, are on Apple Music. This is not. I haven't.
It isn't. Okay. I don't know I don't know who makes that magic happen, if I'm being honest.
Right. Yeah. I didn't know if you guys had if you had any insight into that, but that's.
No, interesting. I'm guessing the Orphan guys had something to do with the Apple Music stuff, and I'm sure that could be on Apple Music.
Sure.
Somebody would just have to fill out some paperwork.
Right.
Not going to be this guy.
Maybe I could do it.
Have at it.
And I'll send you guys all the money that I make from it. No, I'm kidding.
You can take 10% of the $3.83 as a finder fee.
Right around the same time as the Undecided album comes out, you guys open up for the Gear Daddies at First Avenue. And was
that like the 25th anniversary of Billy's Live Bait?
25th anniversary of Billy's Live Bait.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was such a thrill.
Yeah. And you looked like you were having a blast. I remember talking to you after the show, and you were all about watching the Gear Daddies. Anyway, I just always wondered, well, I mean, I thought it was a big reunion for you guys, but again, you stated, it wasn't like you had completely bailed. I thought that was because I hadn't seen you in a long time before that show.
We had made ourselves pretty scarce, to be in your defense. It's not like we were that active, but we played enough to stay familiar with it.
Yeah. I think the last time I remember seeing you before that, like I got home from Iraq in 2004 and got sober that summer, which I needed to do. And I remember seeing you like not, I think not long after that in Fargo. Kirby's was closed by then.
Yeah.
Saw you at some other place. And what I remember most about that show is that afterwards, I think Eric had had a few beers and he had a box of these CDs and he's like giving them away.
Right on. Good for him.
Which was funny. But I was like, I was sitting there thinking, that guy's not going to appreciate that CD. Don't give it to him. Anyway. I was trying to be all like guarded about where this music was ending up. Anyway, it was kind of funny.
Well, you can understand why we didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Here, just take it. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, what are you guys letting him? And like, I was always so, it's gonna sound weird, but like when you feel like you want this band to do so well, I'm like, sell these so then you guys can make a bunch of money and then you'll keep playing because you'll be like, hey, look at all this money. Anyway, that's random, off topic. So,
well, you know, we did it a little different, I guess.
Man,
it really wasn't, for the most part, it really wasn't about the money. It was just about filling up days with joy to the best of our abilities.
So what's your relationship with Eric, Rob, and Andy now?
I mean, we still stay in touch.
Yeah.
We try to go fishing once in a while. It's been kind of few and far between. I don't know. I think with most relationships, I don't know, maybe I'll be curious to hear your take. COVID just kind of wrecked everything.
Yeah,
I even to this day, like, and I'm not, you know, I just feel like it just disrupted
totally
all of the flow of relationships. And I don't feel like we've all recovered. You know, I don't want to get political at all, but like that whole environment is diseased. And, you know, I'm not here to pick a side. I'm here to wish that it wasn't the way it was.
Right.
And so like we have just, on a societal level, I mean, just things have broken down and I don't know how to repair a lot of it. And so back to like those guys specifically, like it just, like I said, I played with them February 2020. We still, you know, we do a fantasy football league and we get together once in a while, but it's increasingly like less often. I'll be curious to see if we get together this weekend with our instruments, and I'll be really curious to see how terrible that goes. But you know, maybe it doesn't go terrible, and you know, maybe there'll be a show this winter. I don't know. There's no plans, but if it's not terrible and it's fun to see those guys, and maybe there's been enough time away from it where it might feel fun. We'll see. So
I agree with you about COVID. It just feels like I feel more like I don't leave my house as much. It got where you were locked down for all that time, and it just feels like people are just content. Just anyway, maybe that's just me getting older.
Well, I do think I am definitely older, and you know, I mean, bedtime is a lot earlier than it used to be, and getting up time is a lot earlier than it used to be. I get up in the wee hours of the morning, whether I want to or not. It's bizarre. I know this whole getting old thing, I don't recommend it. So all you kids out there, just don't get old. Yeah. That's my advice. That is what 56 years on this planet has taught me. Just don't get old.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like I say, it's the social fabric started breaking down around COVID, and people just don't seem to get together anymore. And you know, the other wrinkle is, you know, how much of it is like social media stuff, right? I don't know.
instead of going to talk to people, you just open this thing up.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
So there's a whole lot of things that something's missing.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest,
Agreed.
something's missing between just just human beings, and I'm not sophisticated or smart enough to know how to put it back together, but I can give voice to the observation that we've lost something in the last 5 years.
Yep.
And I'm just waiting for everybody else to catch up to that realization and say, well, what do we do about that?
Yeah.
And like I say, I'm good. I'm still waiting.
Yep.
But I do wish everybody nothing but the best. So
I am excited to hear. I really do hope that you guys. I would love to be able to say I could go see you guys one more time. So I hope it works out that you guys get together and decide. Even if it's in Minneapolis, I would make that trip.
Yeah.
You're such a huge part of my musical journey. And again, we felt like we got to, there was never a band that you felt like you got close enough that like, oh, I got to know those guys. We got to sit and drink with you and hang out with you and then watch you play and buy your CDs and watch you go from 10 people to however many you could fit at Kirby's on the corner in Moorhead.
Billions, Anthony. There were billions of people in the bar.
And platinum albums and cocaine and all sorts of stuff. No.
Well, a lot of beer anyways. No,
Right.
it was a special time. I'm so glad that we could have shared that. I remember those days so fondly. And you can't go back, but
Yeah.
it was really a good time. And here we are. And now we're doing this. So really it's a treat to reconnect and have a chat with you.
Well,
really was gassed to get the invite. I don't know if this interview is rock and roll worthy, but I've treated it as a conversation to reconnect with an old friend. So I hope I passed the audition.
You did.
Good.
And let Eric or any of the guys know if they would be interested in doing something.
Yeah,
like
I'll mention it to him. I'll mention it to him this weekend when if and when I see him for sure. And then I've got your contact information.
Yeah,
So
sure.
That sounds fantastic.
Scott Ehrenberg, thank you for all the music, the years. Thank you for becoming a friend. It has been a blast to have you on.
Anthony, you're the best. God bless. Take care.